What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are here at Brands Hatch for some Manufacturer Cup racing. Now, as you can see on the map, this isn't the normal edition. No, this was actually the shortened Indy circuit that kind of resembles, I'm gonna leave it there, but it's a very difficult track, even though it is a little bit shorter than the normal version, as this was one of the races that we had a little bit earlier. We just ran straight into the wall just to meet our good friend Barrier over there, and unfortunately that was how one of our races ended. So this is our third attempt here for the day. So onto quali. Was a very difficult quali lap just due to the fact that it was a very tight and very experienced lobby. And as you can see here, we get a 43.2, only good enough to get us into a third place position. And as we actually finished 10-11 laps of qualifying, the best we were able to do was get ourselves into P8, 2/10 off the pole time, which was a flat 43. And as you can see, the rest of the field, it was a very tight and condensed field. So it's going to be a very interesting race when we get into it. So here we go, guys. On to the race. Now we wait for the 3, 2, 1. 25 laps around this tiny circuit. We're going to see if we can try to advance our way up, take full advantage of all the mistakes that most likely will end up happening here, and see if we can make some good strategic moves with the strategy and possibly come home with either a top 5 podium, maybe even a win here as we head into Druids for the first time. So off of the corner of Druids, heading into turn number 3, we make sure that we take it nice and easy. Don't try to be a hero so early into the race. There was 25 laps. Didn't really want to push it on the opening laps, get ourselves into a bad situation here where we go tap it wide just because we're being a bit too aggressive with the opening laps and find ourselves all the way in the rear due to a mistake that can easily be done, especially here due to the fact that it's just grass left and right on the track. You don't really have that much room for error, and the moment that you do catch some type of mistake, it's just sending you straight to a shot room, and it's not an ideal situation. So up into lap number 3 here, we are actually putting in some pretty good sector times here as we actually put in a purple's first and second sector. But the only thing is that final corner was being my Achilles heel, as I just could not get that corner down for the love of me. And I don't know what I was doing wrong. I tried different lines. I tried braking early, I tried braking later, but for the love of me, I could just never get that final corner down fully. And that's where we were just losing the majority of our time. As you can see, again, we're going into the end of the first sector. We get a purple sector. As we now head into the second sector, everything feels pretty well. Head into the second sector, unfortunately, we do lose a little bit of time right there. But yeah, it's just the first sector seemed like we had it down. Second sector we were doing pretty decent on, but it was just the third sector we were just losing so much time. So that was one thing we had to keep an eye on, as well as making sure we don't make any mistakes. So on to glorious lap number 6. We head back into turn number 1, and unfortunately for the car up ahead, goes a tad bit wide, heads straight into the dirt, loses the back end, and goes straight into the barrier. And that is a free position for us as we now work our way up into P number 7 after doing absolutely nothing, just making sure that we kept it on the track. And that was kind of going to be the theme here for this race, as there were going to be a lot of deaths here. It was just inevitable for a majority of these drivers to make a simple mistake, go tap it wide. And I'm just hoping and praying that we weren't going to be one of those guys as we progress further and further into the race here. So to come out of the final corner, down to the straight, leading our way into lap number 7, we're just keeping an eye up ahead, making sure that we can spot any incidents that end up happening, and maybe we can gain some positions. But unfortunately, heading to turn number 1, everybody took it nice and perfectly, and there was no free lucky positions for us, but we did get a pretty good first sector, so we did put in a new PB. But on top of that, we were just kind of keeping an eye on the bottom right of the map, seeing what was going on behind us as we were building a gap. And this was probably the best case scenario that we can have right now, because we don't have to worry about cars behind us, we don't have to worry about the cars ahead of us, and we could just focus on hitting our marks and just putting in as quick of a lap times as we can, but also try to save the tires. You can see on the bottom left, we are on the racing hard. So we were given 3 compounds here. We were given the hard, mediums, and softs, but the only required tires were the mediums and the hards. And we elected to utilize the hards on the beginning of the race just due to the fact that we did have a ton of fuel. If we can manage these hards till about lap 14, lap 15, we could switch off to mediums when we have about almost about half a tank of fuel, and then we can just put in some blisteringly quick lap times, as we didn't want to put on the softs and having to come in twice, as that could have easily ruined your race, as it was about a 10-15 second lost time when he came into the pits. So the best strategy, in my opinion, and what I think a lot of other people elected to do too, was just to come in for the one stop and just utilize the mediums and the hard. So we're coming to lap number 14 already. People were starting to come into the pits a little bit earlier, so we are now starting to again put in some purple sectors, so some flying sector times. But unfortunately, again, just that final sector, we could not get it down, as someone accidentally dies heading to the pits. You could hear it on the headphones there. But a couple more people were coming into the pits, as they were starting to see if they can get an undercut working here, lapping about 1 or 2 laps prior to some of the guys up ahead to come into the pits. And you can make up a good half a second, maybe even a second here, if you switch off to the medium compound tires earlier than some of the guys up ahead. And that can lead to a lot of ground made up, especially because this track is just so short. 1 second can equal to basically like a 2-3 second deficit on like a normal layout for like a 1.5 minute, 2 minute lap time track. But we decided to come in here on lap number 15. That's what basically everybody else was doing in the front. So once we come out of the pits, we're gonna kind of see where we're actually at and where our net position is at. As we come out of the pits, we came in basically net position 7. But when we come out in 8th place, right behind Grove Street. And this is not what we needed here, because we don't know how old his tires is. He did come in a bit earlier than us, so he did get the undercut. But I'm not sure if he came in 2 laps earlier, 3 laps earlier. And we're not really quite sure how his pace is, as if we would have had a nice, clean, open track, we could have taken full advantage of these medium compound tires. But since we are basically stuck in traffic, as you can see on the mini-map on the top right, there are about 4 cars right ahead of us. It can get a little bit dicey here, trying to work our way through and trying to put in some quick lap times. We have a slow car on the right hand side. It's J Bar, so I believe we had to serve a penalty, and luckily we get around him easily. We do gain a position, so we're now up into P7. But once again, we do have this little itty bitty train up ahead, and this is not ideal to try to put in quick sector times. But on top of that, we also are now starting to get pressured just a tad bit from J Bar behind us, as he was a quick guy here in this race, but due to that mistake and getting that penalty and falling right behind us, now we have to worry about him, because we know he's got pace, and we don't want to accidentally just get swallowed up here, as P6 now comes into the pits. So BMW, the Argentinian, comes into the pits. Not sure why he waited so late to come into the pits, but that's going to be a free position for us, as we now work our way up to P Steve here, heading into turn number 1. And as we try to catch up to Grove Street, we're starting to get pressured once again by J Bars. He makes a nice lunge heading to Druids, and we just had to give him the position here. So I didn't want to fight with him too much, because the more that we fought, then the more time that Grove Street ahead of us would have been able to pull away. So I decided to let him go through, since he did have the pace, and we're gonna stay right behind him, try to see if he can pull us up to Grove Street, and maybe, just maybe, if they start fighting, we can take advantage of a simple mistake that can possibly happen, especially as it starts winding down to the final stages of the race, and maybe we can take full advantage of the opportunity and go for an overtake. But as we come out of turn number 3, there's another car that's off, and it's Piranha V Superstar, and I'm not sure exactly what happened to him, as it looked like he just lost it there on the second sector, and that is a free position for us, as we are now up into P Steve once again, after losing that to J Bar. But now this time we have basically a battle for what is P5, and if we can catch up to Grove Street up ahead, it'll be a battle for P4 after what's been a very interesting drama-filled race here. And heading back into Druids, we're staying right behind J Bar. So the strategy seems to be working just a tad bit, as Grove Street was starting to become a lot bigger on the screen here, and you can see that as we came out of a lot of these corners, J Bar was just closing and closing it up. And as we finally get into lap number 23, Grove Street's tires were starting to fade out, and Jay Bauer was now starting to take full advantage of it as he caught up to him and was starting to put the pressure on the Mitsubishi in 4th place. But as we come at Druids here, Jay Bauer gets a tad bit loose, loses a little bit of ground, but wasn't anything too serious. You can see again that he has just got so much grip compared to Grove Street. As we now head into the final corner, you can see that he's pulling up to him and just looking for any which way to get around the Grove Street. He was going off to the outside, trying to make a wider entrance to maximize his exit speed, as Grove Street just goes a tad bit wide on the exit. And this is going to probably be the best opportunity for Jay Bauer as he goes into the left-hand side, tried to make the overtake on the outside of turn number 1. Usually don't see that much, but works out perfectly for him as Grove Street gets a really, really bad exit. Had to take the inside line, loses the momentum on the exit. And we're going to take full advantage of that as we send it into Druids, shift all the way to the outside, come off the corner, secure our spot. And we are now finding ourselves in the top 5 here and possibly getting a top 4 here as we have about 1.5 laps to go. So this is going to be a very costly final lap, as I felt like we had really, really decent pace. We know we have the tires, we know we have the car, but do we have the time to get around Jay Bauer here as we make our way to the final lap? So onto the final lap here. Jay Bauer goes a tad bit wide heading into turn number 1. A costly mistake here that's going to really hurt him here heading into Druids. But unfortunately, we're not close enough to go for the overtake there. But still another opportunity, maybe into the final corner, if we could do everything correctly and just make sure we hit all our marks, as Jay Bauer gets a pretty bad exit here. We're still right behind him. Now, are we close enough to go for the overtake as we go into the final corner? Send it as wide as we can onto the entrance to maximize the exit speed. And as we do that, we get straight into the slip, but unfortunately, it's just going to be not enough, and we're going to run out of time here down to the line. And it's going to be a P5 as we almost run into the back of him there due to some lag. And after starting off in P8 and battling our way to almost a P4 and finishing here in P5, it honestly was the best case scenario that we could have done here, and actually a really, really good finish, especially with the battle with Grove Street and Jay Bauer. So really, really enjoyed this race. I usually don't like Brands Hatch. It's just one of the most difficult tracks on the game, but this Indy circuit led to some spectacular racing, and due to the fact that we had to actually implement a strategy of knowing if we wanted to go for a 2-stop or the faster 1-stop, when we wanted to use the mediums, when we wanted to use the hards, it just led to a lot of different strategies. And in my opinion, this was probably one of the more fun Manufacturing Cup races that we did. So hopefully Polyphony do more of these, and we can have ourselves a grand old time for the rest of the season. But let me know how you guys did around here. Let me know what you guys thought about the video. If you guys enjoyed it, feel free to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button down below if you want to catch more content. And if you guys really enjoyed the video, which I hope you guys did, I really hope to catch you guys on the next one. Peace.